Hello, I am here in Nicaragua, and it's been a wonderful, exhilarating, terrifying experience all at once. And I get a lot of questions about, am I staying, am I moving here, so forth and so on. And I thought I would talk about this because it's directly related to another subject that I wanted to talk about, which wasn't so much about being in any particular place, but my process of making decisions and creating whatever I want at a particular time. And they're interrelated very much so in many ways, although a lot of people don't see it that way. So when people ask me, are you staying or are you just visiting, I don't know. And a lot of people are having a really hard time with that answer. And I'll explain why I say that, and hopefully it makes sense. In my life, my whole life really, since I was a young kid, I would just jump into stuff and then trust that the universe, the force, God, whatever you want to call it, spirit, would show me the way. And invariably it has. So I have come to depend on that to a large degree. You guys have seen me work on my trucks and my RV and all that, so it's not like I just sit at home watching TV hoping things work out. But I do what I can, knowing that the bigger plan for me and my life is really in the hands of something greater than me. And a lot of people don't get that, and I understand that, but that is my reality. When I hitchhiked up to Alaska when I was like 21, I left with $50 to my name, not knowing how I was going to cross into Canada, because at the time you needed to show $300, and I didn't have $300. So hitchhiking along, this guy picked me up. Turned out he was a music producer in Washington. And talking, he was a really nice guy. We got along well. We were in the car for like 5 or 6 hours. And I told him, I'm not really sure how I'm going to get to Canada because of the money. And he didn't say anything. We drove for another hour, hour and a half. And eventually he stopped on the side of the freeway and got out of the car, went to the trunk, and brought back a little shaving kit. Okay. He opened up the shaving kit, and he must have had $10,000 or $20,000 in bundles of thousands with the band from the bank. So he took out one $1,000 packet, he counted it, gave it to me, and said, okay, I'll drive you across the border, you can show me you have money, and then you can give it back, and that way you can get across. And I said, oh, great. Now, when I started my trip, I had no idea that was going to happen. None. There was no way for me to know. But I knew it would work out. And it did. I ended up on my trip meeting my future wife and built a whole life and moved to Oregon and all that. But my point is, not so much what I did, but the fact that I was willing to step off the ledge into the abyss and see what happened, knowing that something would happen. Either I would starve to death or get turned back at the border and end up somewhere totally different. But I trusted in that process, even though I can't see the process ahead of time. So when people ask me, what are your plans? It's really hard to put it into a way that makes makes rational sense, because rationally it doesn't make sense. There is no rational. And I think of myself as a pretty rational, down-to-earth guy, don't get me wrong. But I also know that there's this other part of the universe that has my back in many, many ways. And that's been proven to me over and over and over again in all sorts of experiences that I've had. So 2 months ago, if you would have asked me, what are you planning on doing? I would have said, I'm going to California to go to the Argentine consulate to get my passport started. It's going to cost me $500 to drive there, and then the fee and all of that. And my horoscopes and my little readings that I do kept saying, you're going to have this flash of insight that's going to change everything. And sure enough, one day, and it was the exact day that the horoscope said, I realized, wait a minute, I don't have to spend a ton of money. And I live on $1,000 a month, so it's not like I have extra money to throw around. So I don't have to go to LA and spend $500 just to go there and back and then have to save for another 2 months. And in Arizona, in the summer, you spend a lot of money on gas for the generator at night. I mean, I have air conditioning and it runs great on solar during the day. But at night, you still need to run the air conditioning when it's 100 degrees at night. But then all of a sudden, I had this flash of intuition, like, wait a minute, I can just fly to Nicaragua with that money, and I can do all of that while saving money and not spending nearly as much over there. They have an Argentine consulate here, they have an American consulate here, I can do all of that without having to spend $500. So when that happened, my plans changed in an instant. And it's not that I'm wishy-washy, it's just that I got more information which allowed me to make a different decision, which has been working out great. When I got here, I didn't have that much money. I had $200 to my name. So, because I couldn't find a place right away, I got down to my last $20. And that is a scary process, being in a new country with no backup, no support system, as people like to say. But at the same time, you know, for me, that works. For other people, maybe they're not able to do that, they're not willing, they don't know the language, whatever. There's all sorts of reasons why some of us can't do something. So to clarify, when people ask me, what are your plans? I have a long-term plan to live happily in a place that I enjoy. Whether that's here, in Mountain View, California, or in New Jersey, I don't know. I'm open to it all. Obviously, I came here because I can live well on what I make on Social Security. But if a different opportunity arose this evening, and it was better than what I'm doing now, I would take that. And I've always done that. You know, when I worked in the cable industry, we had a saying, which was, I was looking for a job and I found this one. And basically, that talks about the process of new things. I was looking for something new and I found this one. And that keeps repeating itself over and over again for all of us. And how we approach that, you know, it's up to everybody. I mean, I couldn't do the nomad thing, not because I didn't like it, but because I like stability, and moving around costs a ton of gas. You know, to move my house and trailer, and even my van gets 15 miles a gallon. So even though I fixed it all up and I was going to tour in it, I realized I could do much better here and be 10 miles from the beach and all of that. All that external stuff of what I'm doing is really, I would say, 95% driven by an inner process that has nothing to do with the external, but the external is a direct byproduct of the internal. And I don't know if that makes a lot of sense to a lot of people or not. But